Hello and welcome to Crucial 360 News. I'm Amy Johnson. Our first in a two-part story comes from the Columbia University campus in New York City, where a stunning incident occurred during the clearing of pro-Palestinian student protesters by the NYPD earlier this week. The New York Police Department has confirmed that one of its officers accidentally discharged their firearm while clearing protesters from a campus building on Tuesday. Remarkably, this accidental shooting had not been publicly disclosed by the NYPD until local media reported on it days later. According to officials, the incident occurred as police were using force to remove students occupying Hamilton Hall, who had been ordered to disperse after staging a protest encampment over the deadly conflict between Israel and Palestinian militants in Gaza. An emergency service unit officer was using his gun's flashlight attachment to light an area when he accidentally fired a single shot into a wall just a few feet away. Fortunately, no one was injured, but the bullet was later found lodged in that nearby wall. In a press conference on Friday, NYPD Sergeant Tarek Shepard acknowledged the accidental discharge, saying, "Accidental discharges happen every year, and we average about 8 a year. If you do ask about it, we'll talk about it like we're doing right now." However, the NYPD is facing scrutiny for not immediately reporting the gunshot incident on campus, which has further inflamed tensions at Columbia following the forceful police raids to clear the student demonstrators. Body camera footage captured the accidental shooting, and that video evidence has been provided to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for review by its Police Accountability Unit. The incident occurred after Columbia University President Manoush Shafik called in the NYPD on Tuesday to clear Hamilton Hall, which protesters had occupied the previous night in the latest escalation of their encampment. In the wake of the police raids, the university has imposed severe access restrictions, with final exams being moved online and very limited campus access for the rest of the semester, just weeks before its conclusion. Police released video showing officers prying open doors, climbing through windows, and clearing furniture from stairwells to remove the protesters from the building. While the footage depicted some minor damage caused by demonstrators, it did not show any overtly violent behavior from them. Still, the NYPD arrested 112 protesters this week on charges ranging from burglary and trespassing to resisting arrest. Police data indicates about 29% of those detained were not affiliated with Columbia. The protests at Columbia have helped spark a broader student movement across American campuses calling for action related to the deadly conflict in Gaza, where the Hamas-led health ministry says over 34,000 Palestinians have been killed since early October when Hamas fighters attacked Israel, leaving 1,200 Israelis dead. The BBC found there have been nearly 140 similar campus protests and encampments demanding universities divest from companies affiliated with Israel's military forces and disclose their institutional investments more transparently. While some universities like Minnesota and Rutgers have struck agreements with protesters to consider divestment, most demonstrations have ended in confrontations with police making arrests, such as recent incidents at UCLA, Portland State, and NYU over the past week. Concerns have grown about a potential rise in anti-Semitic incidents amid the student protests, prompting pressure on universities to crack down. U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona reportedly sent a letter condemning abhorrent acts of anti-Semitism and plans to meet with Jewish leaders. President Biden also weighed in, urging the protesters to remain peaceful, saying, "We are a civil society and order must prevail." The events at Columbia have severely fractured the campus community in the final weeks of the semester. University student groups have accused police of excessive force, while the NYPD denies those claims. With the accidental weapon discharge adding another controversial layer, it remains to be seen if any disciplinary action will be taken and how Columbia intends to move forward in resolving the situation created by these disruptive protests over the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. If that wasn't heart-wrenching enough, we now turn to the second part of our two-part story. We now discuss the shocking violence that erupted at the University of California, Los Angeles campus earlier this week during a pro-Palestinian student protest. A New York Times investigation analyzing over 100 videos has revealed hours of unrestrained clashes took place between pro-Palestinian protesters at their encampment and pro-Israel counter-protesters. And remarkably, police were on the scene for much of the mayhem but did little to intervene as the situation spiraled out of control. The fighting began around 10:50 p.m. Tuesday night when a group of counter-protesters started tearing down metal barriers and fencing around the pro-Palestinian encampment that had been set up in late April between the university's Powell Library and Royce Hall. As protesters rushed to rebuild the barricades, the confrontation quickly devolved into violence, with the counter-protesters attacking students, launching fireworks as weapons into the encampment, spraying chemical irritants, and wielding sticks and boards to beat demonstrators. The Times video analysis found this assault by dozens of counter-protesters, many wearing pro-Israel slogans and playing Israeli nationalist songs and anthems, went on unabated for nearly 5 hours with little to no intervention by law enforcement who was present. Security personnel hired by UCLA are seen in videos standing by the entire time, with the university declining to comment on why they didn't act. No arrests have been made so far related to the attacks. At multiple points, videos depict pro-Palestinian protesters being swarmed and pummeled by groups of counter-protesters, punching, kicking, and assaulting them with makeshift weapons like sticks, traffic cones, and wooden boards. One video shows a protester being pulled away from the barricade, slammed against a wall, and beaten in the head by counter-protesters wielding a stick, while protesters can be heard yelling, "Do not engage! Hold the line!" The encampment did little to initiate confrontations beyond defending their barricades, according to the Times analysis. It wasn't until around 1:45 a.m., over 2 hours after the violence began, that officers from the California Highway Patrol and later the LAPD are seen arriving on the scene, with counter-protesters cheering their delayed presence. But even then, the violence continued unabated for another hour as police stood by without intervening while chemical sprays were deployed. And more clashes took place over the barricades. UCLA administrators had previously deemed the encampment illegal, but no move was made to shut it down until law enforcement finally began clearing the area around AM and made over 200 arrests of pro-Palestinian protesters. The lack of a timely response has drawn harsh criticism from both Jewish and Muslim advocacy groups in Los Angeles, California's governor, and even the president of the University of California system itself. At least 15 people were reportedly injured in the horse-long assault, which UCLA Chancellor Gene Block condemned as unacceptable actions by instigators, with accusations of anti-Semitism and excessive force swirling around the incident. The delayed police response and UCLA's handling of the encampment protest have ignited a powder keg of controversies. Investigations have been launched into the events of that chaotic night, which represented a new flashpoint in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict playing out on American college campuses across the country. Before we go, we do want to mention that college protests such as these have broken out all over the world. We'll continue to follow these developing stories and provide further updates as they become available. I'm Amy Johnson for Crucial 360 News. If you would like to continue to receive our news coverage, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Farewell for now.